I do not like Windows 11, but unfortunately most of the work that I do uses Windows. Most people around my area still use Windows as their primary operating system, and Windows 10 is about to die in a couple of years. So at this point, I might as well take the Windows 11 bullet and try to find ways to cope against all of its stupidity. Thankfully, there are ways for me to cope with Windows 11 stupidity, and I have made Windows 11 at the very least tolerable to use for me. Not amazing, tolerable. Hopefully with this video, I can make it slightly more tolerable for you as well. So today, I will guide you to make Windows 11, in my opinion, slightly more tolerable. Slightly. I'm gonna breeze through the whole thing, so if you're missing some key information, just pause and rewind. I also split this video in chapters so you won't get lost, and this is gonna take a while, so definitely prepare yourself for this. If you have any questions, I'm unfortunately not very active on YouTube comments, so you definitely want to contact me on my Twitter DM, X DM, really freaking stupid name, or contact me on my email. Links down below, and also links to support my channel as well. One thing that I find absolutely stupid about Windows 11 is the TPM requirements. Basically, TPM is this brand new security standard that a lot of new PCs and laptops have, but not older PCs and laptops, because screw you for using those, right? Windows 11 requires you to have at least TPM 2.0. Now, how do you know if your hardware is capable of TPM 2.0? All you need to do is to check on your CPU to see if they fulfill those standards. For Intel-based platforms, your CPU has to be 8th gen or newer. For AMD-based platforms, your CPU has to be Ryzen 2000 or newer. If you manage to pass these requirements, congratulations, your PC is eligible for Windows 11. Is that a lot of headache? Yes. Yes, it is. That means that any CPU before those generations are pretty much obsolete in the eyes of Microsoft. But that's not the dumbest thing of all. The dumbest thing of all is the other specifications from Microsoft. Windows 11's minimum system requirements is a CPU that is faster than 1 GHz with 2 or more cores. There are loads of CPUs that technically pass this requirement, like the Intel Celerons, but they run Windows 11 just as well as your old laptops running the latest AAA games. On the other hand, you got the Intel Core i7 7700K, a 4-core 8-thread CPU which is perfectly capable of running all sorts of tasks even to this day, including Windows 11. But that doesn't meet the requirements because it doesn't have TPM 2.0. Absolutely stupid, Microsoft. Screw you on this. Now, if you want to check on your CPU, just go to your task manager and then check on the CPU through the performance tab. And then you want to search the CPU online and see if it is compatible. You can also right-click on your This PC at Windows Explorer and click Properties. There, you will find your CPU. Okay, so our CPU is incompatible with Windows 11's TPM requirements. Now what? Can we still install Windows 11? Yes! Yes, we can! There is a way to bypass this stupidity. You need to run regedit and add a couple of registry tweaks while you are installing Windows so that Microsoft doesn't hassle you for that Windows 11 TPM 2.0 arbitrary stupidity. You can even use Rufus to create a custom bootable Windows USB that completely bypasses the TPM requirements. Now, even during the installation process, there's one thing that you guys need to be aware of. Actually, two things. First one is the bloatware. Microsoft will come in pre-installed with loads and loads of bloatwares. But did you know that you can totally bypass all of these bloatwares by setting your installation to Windows English World Edition? That way, you will have 0 bloatwares that you have to manually uninstall when you have Windows installed. But hey, if you have it installed already, don't worry, there's a way for you to remove them one by one later. The next one, ladies and gentlemen, is Windows 11's online installation. Seriously, Windows, absolutely screw you for this garbage. And I think the frustration is best illustrated by my favorite Australian garbage tech yeller, Dankpods.
I hate you, Windows. 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 Windows! Just do it! Just do it already! Do it! Do it now! Why won't you do it? Just do it!
not everyone can connect online. So asking people to connect online for this crap and make a Microsoft account is just way too much step for everyone who just wants to game or work with their machine offline. Thankfully, there is a way to bypass this stupidity, and this tip is so useful that even employees in the computer retail shop that I live in actually use this when they start booting up new laptops for new users. That's right, employees of computer retail shops are actually using this tip to help customers set up their PC. If the employees on your computer retailers have to resort to this stupid method, then you know you done goof, Microsoft. And if this is useful for the employees of a computer retail shop, then it is definitely useful for all of you guys. So when you start off the Windows setup for the first time, it is definitely gonna ask questions like your keyboard layout and all of that. But when it asks for Wi-Fi connections or checking for updates, do not give them the satisfaction, because they will ask you to make a Microsoft account. When that happens, disconnect your LAN cable and turn off all the internet at home. Instead, what you want to do is to press the button Shift F10. This will bring the command line interface, and this is where you're gonna type in the secret hack, which is OOBE/bypass NRO. Keep in mind that this is backslash and not /, so make sure you type in the right slash and make sure that you use the US keyboard layout so that you don't get the wrong button pressed for backslash. Press enter, and after that, Windows will start again. But when it asks for the internet, there's a little option that says, I don't have internet. Click that and proceed to create your local, offline, no freaking internet account. Absolutely fantastic. Screw you, Microsoft, for this garbage. After a little bit of configuration, we got the absolute default vanilla Windows 11. And it's absolutely freaking trash. I hate it. So let's modify the hell out of it so that it is at least functionally tolerable, or at least functionally tolerable to me. First off, this is just me, and if you don't want to follow, you don't have to follow. I have no desktop wallpaper and no desktop icons. It's all black. I rarely have my PC to show the desktop wallpaper, and no one is gonna admire it but me, and I'm not particularly easy to admire, so I'll just leave it dark and with no icons. Second, I want to move all the icons on the taskbar to the freaking left. I'm not using a Mac and I prefer them to be on the left, so I right click on the taskbar and click taskbar settings. Then I just disable all the stuff that I don't want to see in the taskbar, like that long ass search bar. By the way, all of these functions are easily accessible with a keyboard shortcut, so there's literally no reason for me to have them on the taskbar, especially the search. I'll get to that later. And of course, I make the icons to show on the left as God intended. Then I also make the taskbar to auto hide because that's how I prefer them. Just read all these options and figure out which one works for you. That's pretty much my guide in a nutshell. Read all of these settings on Windows and configure them so that they work for you. But wait a second, since I remove all the desktop icons on the desktop and make them completely black, how am I gonna run programs and all of that? Wouldn't I need the icons in the desktop and click on the icons to run the program? No, you silly. That's where the Windows search function comes in. If I want to run Vegas Pro, for example, I just press the Windows button and type in Vegas Pro, and boom, I got Vegas Pro. If I want to run GIMP or Inkscape, I just press the Windows button and type them all into the Windows search. If the programs don't exist in the start menu, I will add them manually in the start menu. You literally do not need this freaking search bar wasting too much space on your taskbar when you can just search just fine with a press of the Windows key. And in my opinion, Windows search is absolutely fantastic. When you tweaked it. Out of the box, it's terrible. But once I tweaked it, I think Windows Search is one of the best tools that I use for all sorts of productivity stuff. So let's get into the tweaking so that it is at least not crap. The most important one is search indexing. Search index is a list of directories that Windows Search is going to search on your PC. And I want Windows Search to search specific directories that I really need. This is how I get all the clips that I want to play on the stream. I just use Windows Search or PowerToys Run, which I'll get to later, and then type in the clip that I want, and then bam, the clip that I want is played on the stream. The biggest flaw with Windows Search is the fact that it's connected to the freaking internet, which means that when I search on the Windows Search, it will also search on the freaking internet using Bing. Now, to be fair to Microsoft, I actually like Bing. I think there are loads of stuff that Bing does better than Google. One of the primary reasons I switched to Bing is because Google always asks for stupid freaking CAPTCHAs every single time I access the damn thing, and I couldn't be bothered to answer it every time. This is because I have my VPN, private internet access, on, and Google basically wants me to turn off my VPN. Thanks, Google, but no thanks. But just because I like Bing as a search engine and it's surprisingly good AI search companion doesn't mean I want Bing on my Windows search function. And thankfully, I can turn this off and make sure that Windows search doesn't use Bing. But we'll get back to this later. You can skip to the part that I'm talking about in the chapters down below. The next tweak is a little minor. I prefer the Windows Explorer to just show everything that I wanted to show. All of these folders are essential, so I definitely will configure it like this. Also, I hate how there's so much space in between these options. It's supposed to be for tablets or touchscreen PCs, but we're not using those today. Thankfully, this one is a super easy fix. Just click on View and then Compact View. Bam! In my opinion, this is the most important step that I think a lot of you guys should absolutely follow, and that is moving the library to a separate hard drive partition. Here's how my Windows installation works on my PC. I have a 2TB NVMe SSD, which is the ADATA SX8200. I reserved 200 gigs of my SSD only for Windows and a couple of applications that I installed. This is the C partition, and as you can see, it already consumes slightly more than half of it. Then I have the D partition, which is basically my everything else. It has my data, my games, my downloaded programs, applications, adult videos, all sorts of stuff. This drive holds all of the important files that I need to operate every day. And there are times where I accidentally installed viruses and I have to wipe out the whole Windows installation. I'm fine with wiping out Windows and reinstalling all my apps, but backing up the data is gonna take a long time. And I want to make sure that all my data is on a completely separate partition that is, funnily enough, never touched by the viruses. So if you want to wipe out your OS but keep your files intact, here's a pro tip. Keep all of your files on a separate partition. First, free up some space by deleting files or moving files. Second, use the Windows Disk Management tool to create a separate partition. Just look up Disk Management on search. You should find it. Third, right-click on Desktop, Documents, Downloads, Music, Pictures, Videos, all of these, then click Properties. You have to do them one folder at a time. And then once you do that, you want to click on Location and change the location of your libraries to the new drive that you have. My Documents folder is super messy because all sorts of games always use that folder. Thankfully, all of your programs are able to recognize where your Documents folder is, even if it's moved to a separate partition, as long as you tell Windows that your Documents folder is in the D partition or in the other drive partition aside from C. You have to do this every single time you install Windows. It is essential that you do this. It will save you precious time and important files in the future. Now let's move on to a more cosmetic customization. I actually really like the Windows animation on Windows 11. I think they look pretty flashy, but I am a power user and I want as much speed as I can. Sure, it doesn't look as pretty, but man, it is much snappier. Everything just comes in a freaking snap. No waiting a couple of milliseconds for animations, one click and bam, everything in an instant. It is so much cooler that I actually did the same thing on my Android phones. I also disabled all animations through the developer mode and whew, it is snappy. It's like a freaking instant. All you need to do is to open up the Explorer, right click on this PC and click on Properties. This will lead you to another window, and what you want to do here is click the Advanced System setting right here. There's the classic window. You want to go to the Advanced tab, click on Settings in the Performance section, and follow the settings that I use here. It also disables Aero Peak, which is annoying in my opinion. And with that, your Windows will feel much snappier and doesn't have all sorts of unnecessary and resource-consuming animations. This one is a cliched advice, but it's still true even to this day, and that is uninstalling programs that you don't need. If you didn't have the bloatware bypass hack last time, Windows came in pre-installed with loads of bloatwares like Spotify or Xbox or Teams. If there are applications that you don't need, all you need to do is to search on Windows and type in the word program. Click on Add and Remove Program, and it will immediately take you into this big menu that allows you to uninstall the stuff that you don't need. If you want to uninstall, just click on the three dots in the app that you don't want, click uninstall, and follow the instructions. Speaking of programs, let's talk about installing them rather than uninstalling them. Once you're done with uninstalling the programs that you don't need, here are the softwares that I use for my Windows 11. First one is Ninite, which is an all-in-one software solution that will install everything that you need in one go. I use Ninite all the time, every single time I install a new PC, and it's a great software to get things up and running. But the thing about Ninite is that once you installed all the softwares, they will automatically try to have all of those softwares run automatically automatically when you start up Windows. So if you don't need these softwares to start up when you boot up Windows, all you need is a quick visit to the task manager, which you can do through the right click of the taskbar here, and then pick the apps that you want and not want to start up when you boot Windows in the startup section of your task manager. If you don't want the app to run, just right click and disable. Super simple, super easy. The next software that I use is pretty much an all-in-one Windows tweaker, and that is Winaero Tweaker. There are loads and loads of tweaks that I use on Winaero Tweaker. Definitely look this up and give it a quick download. Amazing software, and here are the tweaks that I applied for Windows 11 that managed to make it less of an idiot machine to me. First off, I brought back the old context menu. Windows 11 has this new right-click menu that literally no one likes. I don't understand why Microsoft decides to have this right-click menu. You can access the old right-click menu by clicking show more options, but I might as well go straight to it. So to bypass this stupid new right-click menu, I just need to check this and restart. But I'm gonna restart later. We're gonna do more tweaks. Next one is an instant taskbar thumbnail response. What does that mean? Well, I want a thumbnail response that's basically instant, and what I mean by that is when I hover the mouse into the icons on the taskbar, I want it to instantly pop up like this instead of taking a brief delay. So to do that, I just type in thumbnail and I will be greeted with the option taskbar thumbnails. I just need to reduce this option all the way to 1 millisecond and boom, it is pretty much instantaneous and it absolutely helps in my productivity. Another thing that helps my productivity is how I want my taskbar thumbnails to look like this. Instead of this bulky look in the taskbar where you got multiple instances of the program running and it shows the thumbnails, I want it so that they only display the text and not the thumbnails. So in order to do that, I just need to reduce the taskbar thumbnail grouping to 1. I'm fine with it having a thumbnail with just 1 instance of the program, but the moment there are more than 2 instances of the program, then I want it to not have thumbnails and just be a list instead. Another instantaneous tweak that I use is menu show delay, which is what happens when you right click and hover to the next menu. This tweak will make it happen so that it's instant and not delayed. I simply type in menu show delay and reduce the time to milliseconds. Absolutely fantastic, amazing tweak that I highly recommend. Another small tweak that I like is a smaller window border, and this one is simple. I just need to look up for window borders and reduce the border padding all the way up to the lowest. This will make the windows thinner and less padded in my opinion, and I personally prefer how it looks that way. But by far, the most essential tweak that you should definitely turn off is telemetry. Telemetry, in case you don't know, is basically data collection. Windows will collect all of your data about your PC, including your errors, your system specs, everything. They do this so that they can improve Microsoft Windows in the future. That sounds fine and all, but the problem is doing so will eat your system resources, and Microsoft will be pretty much legally spy on you, because screw you, right? So all I need to do to disable telemetry is type in telemetry and disable them right here on Winaero Tweaker. Doing so will make sure that Windows won't anonymously send some data to Microsoft in case of errors and all of that, and wasting all sorts of resources. This is a highly recommended tweak, so I suggest you to disable telemetry as soon as possible. And stay tuned, because in the next couple of sections, there are other ways for us to tell Microsoft to stop spying on you. And we're done with Winaero Tweaker, or at least for me. There are loads and loads of other useful options there, so if you need to tweak those to your liking, don't be afraid to experiment a little bit. The next bit of software is a replacement to an absolute legendary software, and that is 7+ Taskbar Tweaker, which is unfortunately not compatible with the Windows 11 taskbar. But if you're running Windows 10, it will still work just fine. Thankfully, there's another alternative software called Windhawk, which does almost everything that I want from the 7+ Taskbar Tweaker, and it's compatible with Windows 11. It is a great customization tool that lets you to do all sorts of things for your Windows 11 taskbar. But wait a second, guys, there's more. There's also another application that I highly recommend called Wintoys, which you can install on the Microsoft Store. Wintoys basically do similar things to Winaero Tweaker, but the options are more organized. There are loads and loads of stuff that you can definitely configure in this one. You can search the apps that you have installed using the apps tab. You can check on the services running using services. But the ones that I want to focus on are the boost, health, and tweak options. Let's check on the boost options first. One that you might want to turn off or on is core isolation, which is in here called VBS or virtualization based security. To make a long story short, it will make your computer more secure, but at the cost of your gaming performance. I don't really play a lot of games these days, so this isn't really that much of an issue for me to turn this on, but if you want to be more serious in your gaming, you can turn this off, but turn it off at your own risk. All of these settings, you can definitely read them and figure out what they do. If you hover in the options, Wintoys will give you recommendations on what to do. You can follow its settings and give it a read. And finally, let's go to the tweak section. Loads of optional stuff here, and you can also turn on the classic context menu right up here on the desktop. So remember when I talk about how search is an amazing feature on Windows 11, but I don't like how it searches through Bing as well? You can definitely change this by going to the start menu here and turning off Bing search results. And if you skip the section all the way to this part of the video, we are using an app called Wintoys. You can also turn off auto install suggestions as well. In fact, turn off all of these options. Great tweaks here, in my opinion. Then you got privacy settings here. Turn all of these off. Seriously, you don't want Microsoft to be tracking your ass, and it can definitely hurt your performance when Microsoft just sends data in and out of you. Also, turn off all of these stupid ad setting so that your computer doesn't send all of the information and data and ads to Microsoft. Seriously, turn all of these off and tell Microsoft to absolutely go screw themselves for this. And if you want to disable even more anti-privacy settings, then look up this amazing tool called Shutup 10++. Amazing software that lets you to pick and disable the Microsoft monitoring stuff. Highly recommend that one if you are really concerned with privacy, but you have to use Windows. Then again, if you really want to up your privacy game to the next level, might as well ditch Windows and go Linux. Use the Tails distro. No, not that Tails, Linux Tails. Though I would bet that Tails would definitely use Linux toys. Now let's get to my absolute favorite Windows 11 software made by Microsoft themselves, designed for power users, and that is PowerToys. I highly recommend PowerToys if you are a power user and if you want to up your computer skills to the next level. PowerToys give you all sorts of cool toys that you can play with. My personal favorite one is PowerToys Run, which basically lets you to have a Mac-like, Spotlight search bar on Windows, and it is, in my opinion, just as good. Fun fact, I use the PowerToys Run feature to quickly grab clips that I can use for my streams. One of the most common things that happen when you're using your computer is you running out of storage. So you're going into your files and folders and clean up some mess. The problem is you don't really know which files are eating up the spaces. Well, I used to use this program called Winderstat, but right now, the newest program that does the same thing but infinitely better and still being updated even to this day is called WizTree. I highly recommend this program if you want to figure out what has been eating the storage of your drives so that you can remove them pretty well. Now, this part over here is reserved for those who tried all of this stuff, but still seeing all sorts of terrible performances, especially if you're running your laptops or PCs on really old or underperforming CPUs, like the Celerons. Well, don't worry, there's a little handy tool that you can use to pretty much debloat and decrapify Windows all in one. It's called Windows 11 Debloater. This is a tool that I highly recommend if you are running Windows 11 on older PCs or the ones that don't have the latest TPM stuff. There are loads and loads of debloater scripts out there. Running these debloater scripts will remove all sorts of unnecessary programs, turning off telemetry, all in one solution. Absolutely fantastic if you ask me. I recommend this one by Lidrago X. I've tried it a lot on my student's PC that runs Windows 11. It runs like magic and it just debloats Windows 11, just unloads all the unnecessary junk like nothing. It also works with Windows 10 too, if you're curious. Now, this debloater script requires some basic CMD and PowerShell knowledge, but once you manage to overcome those hurdles, it is a great way to boost your PC performance. And those are all the essential tweaks and softwares that I use to make my Windows 11 experience slightly less crap. This is just a 2023 guide, so there may be new softwares or updates or customization stuff that will be released in the next couple of years to also make Windows 11 slightly less of a hassle to use. And there are times where Microsoft is being a dick and updates Windows in ways that makes it even worse. I hope this guide and tweaks and softwares are useful for you the same way they are useful for me. or at least for now. If you have any questions, please let me know what you need, but you'll have to contact me on email or Twitter, XDM, so that I can help you in that regard. Thank you so much for watching, and huge thanks to all of these wonderful people. If you want to see your names among these awesome people, then check out the links down below, where not only you can contact me, but also donate $1 to help support this channel. Seriously, thank you so much, and I will see you all next time.